They got just over 300 employees, okay? They have 556 athletes under contract. They're running 53 shows this year. There's only 52 Saturdays in the year, and they're running 53 events. They do not have time to wait at a fax machine and wait for the ink to dry. They have to be able to make a call, send a text or an email, get somebody's word, and push the green button. Once the button is pushed, the advertising goes out, the billboards go up, the marketing begins, the press releases get put out. Hundreds of thousands of dollars are spent. For a fight like UFC 200, there will be close to $10 million in marketing done. Now, as we sit here in April, that's not spent. I understand that. But over six figures are. Probably closer to the $250,000 point. If you guys are driving around Los Angeles, if you're in New York City in Times Square, if you're in Las Vegas, the billboards are up. They're already advertising UFC 200. A lot of money is spent. They don't have contracts for it. Maybe they didn't get that signed. But it doesn't matter. Somebody tells them, bet, and that pit boss says you got it, then you've got action. And it has to work that way or the industry comes to a standstill. It has to be able to work that way. I don't know what Conor did. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He just simply didn't want to travel. Let's give him that. Come in here and bash the guy. That's not my point. But some people don't understand that the business has to work that way. It's got to operate off of your word. But it's a two-way street. The company will honor it too. If they make a bad deal, a deal's a deal. If you say yes, it's got to mean yes. You say I'm coming to UFC 200, I don't give a damn if you said it on Twitter. If you said it, you said it. You got to be there. That's it. The industry has to work that way. And you can't make exceptions for anything. You can't do it. Now, some promotions do. Some promotions have to. They don't have the roster. They can't change guys out. And those promotions go away. That's just a reality. Go ahead and name them. Name all the ones you guys want to think of. Strikeforce, Pride, Elite XC, Bodog, WEC. Name them. They're all gone. They don't exist. And a lot of them made the mistake. They let one athlete be bigger than the promotion. Affliction went down because of one athlete. They didn't have a roster. They didn't have a choice. They didn't have a choice. I enjoyed that product. I liked the guys that were running it. Like the guys who were fighting. It didn't make, not a commentary on that at all. It was the right move by the UFC. You got to pull him out. It's not going to do the media. He's got to come out. So the other moving part here is the 145-pound title. The only statement made by Dana, and I didn't fully understand it. I mean, he was saying, look, Conor's out, but we got a great relationship with Conor. I'm going, not from where I'm sitting, you don't. I didn't fully understand it, but the one thing that wasn't discussed was his standing in the company. If you're out of UFC 200, then you're out of the UFC, at least for the time being. I don't mean your contract's gone or ripped up, but you're out for a little bit. So now we're going to have Jose and Frankie still fight for the interim title? Man, that sounds like that's got to be for the real title to me. It sounds, if I was the reporter and I was interviewing Dana, I wouldn't have taken my eye off that ball and just focused on his fight with Nate. I would have said, well, what about the 145-pound division that's been held up? What are you going to do there? I think that was the question. I think that was the big question. I imagine that will come out pretty quickly, but it should have come out then. When Dana was getting interviewed, I think that the reporter at ESPN was almost caught off guard. Hey, what the hell's going on? You got your biggest show of all time. You got your biggest star in the company. I understand him for not thinking that way. A little of this is hindsight 2020, but that's the question I would have asked. I would have said, well, wait a minute, what about the 145-pound belt? If he's out of the main event, he's out of the UFC at least temporarily, then I got to imagine that title stripped too. And you come back to a guy's word has to mean something wherever he says it. Said he's retired. He's not. He's not retired. It's not true. But he said he is. So we have to rely on that information. We have to believe a guy when he says it, even if it's ridiculous. We have to then accept that information. Frankie needs to be fighting for that strap against Jose. It's as simple as that. I think you guys agree with me. There was a guy named the Ultimate Warrior in wrestling, professional wrestling. The Ultimate Warrior, rest his soul, but he did business like a true scumbag. He understood, because wrestling has to move the same way as the UFC. You don't sit by a fax machine with your legal team and wait until ink comes across contracts. You've got to be able to just operate on a guy's word. So the Ultimate Warrior used to like to commit to events and shows. Let all the marketing go out. Let all the millions of dollars be spent. And then turn the gun on Vince McMahon and say, well, yeah, but I haven't signed that contract. Now Vince is stuck. It's like, well, we had a deal. You told me yes. I relied on it. I spent a ton of money promoting you, but yeah, you're right. I don't have a contract yet. And he would just chalk it up to renegotiating. Vince McMahon told a story. The Ultimate Warrior was backstage at a Survivor Series. Now, the Ultimate Warrior was their biggest star at that time. So everybody that was in that house was there to see the Warrior. Everybody that bought the pay-per-view bought it to see the Warrior. The Warrior was advertised, he was promised, and he was there, but he was backstage. So before he walks through the curtain, he goes up to Vince McMahon and says, if you want me to walk through that curtain tonight, I need X amount of dollars. They already had a deal. But now Vince is stuck. Because Vince, being a man of his word, has promised the public the Warrior. So now he's got to deal with this. So Vince says, what's the number? The Warrior gives it to him. I don't know the number, and when Vince told this story, he didn't disclose the number, but the rumor is it was $1 million on the dot. Vince runs to the office, scratches him a check, hands it to him. Warrior walks out. Vince delivers on his promise to the people that the Warrior will be there. Warrior walks back through the curtain. Vince is waiting in gorilla position, which in the wrestling world means right on the other side of the curtain, points his finger at him and says, you're fired. But Vince didn't cancel the check. Vince let him take the money, even though it was a shakedown, even though it was blackmail, even though it was likely illegal what the Warrior did. The pit boss said bet. And when the pit boss says bet, you have action. And he kept his word. And if you ever want to double-cross the UFC, you go right ahead, but you follow one litmus test. Let them double-cross somebody else first. It has never happened. If they say bet, you got to bet.